Hi people, my Norwegian back here again as always under as usual. This is going to be a brief astrological chart, and as you can tell in the top left corner, this is an horary chart on global affairs. This is going to be an interesting topic in the way of in the sense of the information it gives away, specifically specifically the way things are globally, so applicable to pretty much everyone, so to the masses globally. It doesn't matter what country you live in, what so-called culture you belong to. This is what life currently looks like for more or less everyone in the world. So yeah, let's get started. The first house is ruled by Scorpio, and this degree, 15 degrees in Scorpio, stands for uncertainty, so unknown. Essentially, it simply stands for the fact that the world finds itself in troubled times with a tendency to be coercive. People have a tendency to be coercive, overbearing, by emotionally aggressive, and that's due to insecurity. They're unsure of what direction the world is heading in, and as a result, they make a good deal of decisions, emotional decisions, especially based on that. Now, the second house, you've got the Power of Fortune, which is 11 degrees in Capricorn, which is not good. That, generally speaking, indicates that the economy is still active and present, but the Power of Fortune does not do well in Capricorn in general. In this specific context, Capricorn stands for drought, which stands for the fact that it's slim pickings for a lot of people in the world right now. A lot of people are not doing well financially, and it just goes on. Pluto is in Aquarius in the third house, the house of Gemini, which stands for the fact that a lot of people become prominent in daily life, specifically through technology. Think of YouTubers, think of so-called influencers. Anybody that essentially puts themselves on social media or just media has a chance to essentially become really popular because a lot of people make use of technology. That's also what Pluto stands for. A lot of people, day-to-day life for them revolves around technology, including yours truly, obviously. The mere fact alone that you're watching this video speaks for itself. You watching this video, viewer, is literally Pluto in Aquarius in Gemini's house. The third house. Now, both the moon and Saturn are in Pisces in the fourth house, which is not good in this specific context. It stands for the fact that, generally speaking, households are very unstable for both men and women. The moon represents women and Saturn represents men. And I'm familiar with both of these degrees. That's why they're both next to each other. It essentially stands for, again, uncertainty in the household due to troubling times and hardships and having to deal with difficulties, causing mental illness, especially in women. So think of mother and fathers that are stressed and they're having a hard time because of the way things are going in the world, and just all the hardships they have to deal with in general. So that's what domestic life for a lot of people looks like as things presently stand globally. Now, Neptune is at its strongest in Pisces in the fifth house, which stands for the fact that people, generally speaking, have a tendency more to look towards, honestly, towards the occult or esotericism more than ever. Also, they have a tendency to, generally speaking, how should I put this? Equate all forms of entertainment with spirituality. So they're trying to find a spiritual meaning behind things that are, generally speaking, pure entertainment. Obviously, my material not included. My material is the exact opposite of that, okay? It's spiritual in the finest of senses. Now, the sixth house has the most activity, as you can tell or see. You can ignore Chiron and the North Node. There's Jupiter and the Sun are there, both are in Aries, and Mercury is there in Taurus. This house stands for global working conditions and circumstances, and Jupiter and the Sun, being in Aries, stands for the fact that there's a lot of strife. There is a lot of chaos for people work-wise. No stability, instability in every imaginable way, in a violent way, honestly. A lot of people getting fired, getting laid off, losing their jobs, and definitely responding with aggression in the worst case scenario, whether it be verbally only or actually physically. It just goes on. And Mercury is there in Taurus, which stands for the fact that a lot of people are also primarily focused on, the people of the world are focused on acquiring a stable job. That's what they're focused on. Sending out resumes left and right and whatnot, you name it. The seventh house is also ruled by Taurus, and you've got Uranus and Pallas, the asteroid Pallas, also both there in Taurus. The 7th house represents women, generally speaking, whereas the 1st house represents men. The women of the world, represented by Venus, as well as the 7th house overall, stands for the fact, unfortunately, that a lot of women in the world are materialistically inclined, or they're inclined towards materialism, and their focus primarily is on, material security and getting that from men. The fact that Uranus is there stands for the fact that they're of dubious loyalty. So I mean that their loyalty is based purely on resources they can acquire from a partner as well as attain. Juno further solidifies that. This is Juno, sorry. I'm sorry if I misspoke earlier. This is Juno. It's not Pallas. Juno. The asteroid Juno. Juno says the same thing. And here we have Venus in Gemini in the 7th house, which stands for the same thing. And the fact that women, generally speaking, communicate more on a day-to-day basis, or they simply go about daily life. Mars, which represents men, is 10 degrees in Cancer in the 8th house, the house of Scorpio. Mars being there in the house is good because it stands for the fact that the men in the world in general are determined. They don't know how to give up, which is a good thing. They're very perseverant in nature. But the drawback here, of course, Mars being in Cancer, stands for them having difficulty with overall things relating to the household, cost of living in the world, as well as just keeping it together financially. That's also what the 8th house stands for. Unsurprisingly, men bear the brunt of all the financial pressure that the world brings along with it in these uncertain times. That's why it's opposed the pot of fortune, separated only by 1 degree. So yeah, that's why, and that's also why men are positively aspected Mercury. Their focus is on that, specifically holding down a job and maintaining said job, and yeah, and that's essentially it. And men are, generally speaking, also more active on the political scene. Women as well, but women are more reserved in nature. They're more withdrawn. They don't really make their political affiliations known en masse. It's more the men. And there we have Pallas in Cancer, 23 degrees in Cancer in the 9th house. More or less stands for the same thing I already said that people are focused on. Essentially globalism. There's a strong focus on global affairs and whatnot. Lilith says the same thing. The 10th house ruled by Leo doesn't really stand for anything. It simply stands for authoritarian consistency in terms of execution. So most political parties, government administrations, and big corporate entities are more consistent and focused on doing things their way, essentially, and carrying out their agenda, whether it be hidden or otherwise, or for better or for worse. Now, Ceres is going retrograde in Virgo in the 11th house, the house that deals with the masses, with the public en masse. This is arguably the most prominent house based on the context of the question. The house of Aquarius, which deals with the masses, so the world essentially. Ceres in Virgo going retrograde speaks for itself. Okay, this degree, generally speaking, would stand for being joyous or optimistic. 25 degrees in Virgo, but the fact alone that Ceres is in Virgo and going retrograde, again, Ceres represents day-to-day life, employment-wise, and it's in the 11th house. Again, it's going retrograde. This simply means that there are a lot of employment-based problems in the world. There is a lot of employment-based or career-based instability. Like I said, people getting fired left, right, and center. People losing their jobs. It just goes on. So, and that automatically puts people in a really bad mood. And you can't really blame them because, again, their livelihoods and everything else you can think of that a livelihood would have an effect or impact on is unstable. That's why you're seeing that Ceres is also aspected to Juno and to Uranus. Both are heavily afflicted, honestly. Very weak, very weak. It stands for instability, honestly. The aspect to Uranus, instability. And last but not least, the Earth. The Earth is 25 degrees in Libra. The Earth essentially stands for what the state that the world finds itself in right now, and not good. The Earth being in Libra stands for the fact that it's unstable, honestly. The world finds itself in a state of uncertainty, and it's very unstable flux-wise. It fluctuates a lot. The 25 degrees, hold on, what's that 25 degrees again? Yeah, 25 degrees financially, yeah. It stands for financial uncertainty and instability, which prompts mental illness. That's why it's in the 12th house, the house of Pisces, dealing with mental illness and dealing with people obscuring themselves. And also, very important, a tendency to commit more illegal or shady acts in order to rectify that financial instability. So a tendency towards, honestly, towards crime, but more crime of a hidden nature. Think of embezzlement, fraud, you name it, okay, kickbacks, stuff like that. So yeah, there being a substantial danger of financial fraud present in the world. So yeah, this is what the world currently looks like, the entire world, and these are the issues that people are dealing with. Not good, of course, definitely not good, okay? You've got the unstable economy, this also says that, the unstable working conditions and circumstances, and the lack of a decent career for people. Obviously, on the good side, it's the whole connection, the entire world being connected through technology and the internet on a day-to-day basis. Unstable households. Yeah, times are tough. Okay, things are not going all too well for people in the world. I want to say, hypothetically speaking, I understand where women are coming from with the emphasis laid on materialism, but at the same time, obviously, it's like, yeah, you know, it's something to be frowned upon, arguably. Of course, we men in this world, which, as usual, we carry the brunt of things. So we have to deal with all the burdens of civilization, or at least the majority of them. No offense to women. And that's why, not good. Mars is like, but thank goodness we have the strength and the perseverance to do just that, to persevere. That's what it stands for. And yes, we all know what time it is with authoritarianism. That's why Lilith is aspected midheaven, with specifically the biggest companies in the world and the agenda that they put forth. Don't need to say anything about that. And yeah, arguably the most interesting ones here are Ceres and the Earth, which denote what I already said earlier. So yeah, this is what the world looks like, but I would say don't let that get you down, okay? Times are tough, but it will pass just like everything else, and as God built the world, it will also return someday. So again, the cycle just continues, okay? Good men, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men, and the cycle just continues. Bye bye, guys, until next time.